Hi everyone, welcome back to Creative Design and Compositing. We're already in week 6 of the class. And this week I'm going to show you how to save optimized files and also some time-saving tricks when you're saving your files. Because as a designer, you might have to save files in bulk, and I'm going to show you some things that you can do to save your time in the future. So first of all, I want to talk about the difference between a JPEG and a PNG. You can see with this Nike logo that as a JPEG, you have that white background, but as a PNG, you can actually get rid of the background. So you can just see the swoosh sign, and the background of the gradient kind of shows through because it has a transparent background when you're saving it out. So here's a bit more of a difference between a JPEG and a PNG, because as a designer, you will probably have to make a final call on which file format to use. So when you are saving out as a JPEG, you usually do that when you are on the web and you want to save something as a small file size. So the reason why you want to do that is if you have a website, and I'm sure you've seen ones where it takes forever for an image to load, they probably saved it out as a PNG, or the JPEG that they used is too large of a format, and I'll show you how to downsize it because it doesn't need to be that big when you're saving it for a website. So when you have photos or images, you would use a JPEG for the web. And also when you're printing things out, you would also use JPEG as well. So for a PNG, like I said, people use it when they want a transparent background, and it is a bit larger of a file size, so be wary of that. And when you have logos, graphs, and illustrations, you'll probably use a PNG as well. So we're going to open Photoshop now, and I'm going to show you how to save for different file formats. So right now I have this Nike logo on my Photoshop file, and I know that it is a transparent background because I have this checkered box at the back. So when I save it as a PNG, I go into File, Export, Save for Web Legacy. And on here, this is where I get all these options. So if I go into here and I press PNG 24, then I know that it is a transparent background and I can save it as a PNG, and I just click Save. Nike. And another thing I want to show you is when I go to File. So when you save for web, you would also use the same thing here. File, Save for Web here. And now I want to save it as a JPEG, and I want to show you something here. So right now the quantity is at 100%. So let's pretend that we are saving something for our website. But the highest that you actually need to go is very high, and it's at 80. I usually stick with quality at 80. It does have a bit smaller of a file size, which is much better for websites. So stick with 80 when you're saving for web. And then I can go Save. Nike, and I'll just put 80 here. There you go. So if I go into where I saved it, I know it's a PNG because it's different than when it's on a white background. See that? Okay, awesome. And I'm going to show you something called an action. So when I go into Windows, I go into Actions, and what an action is, it records whatever you are doing when you have it on record. So when designers bulk edit photos, sometimes they use actions, and for the purpose of this, I'm going to show you how to bulk save photos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new action by calling it JPEG, because I'm going to create an action for creating JPEGs, record it. And what I do now is I'm like, okay, I want to record an action for web. So I go Save for Web. Okay, 80%. This is perfect. Save. I'm going to save it here. Okay, great. And I want it to close when I'm done the action. So now when I go into Actions, it's actually closed. So I'm going to stop it now. So perfect. So it's going to export and then close whatever file. So let's try it out. Let me open another file. Let's open this one. And in order for us to not get confused, I'm just gonna, oops, not this. I'm gonna just delete some of these. Okay, so now we're here. JPEG, okay, play the action. Okay, closed it. Let's see if it saved it. Exactly, yes. So from this PSD file, it saved it as a JPEG. So this is exactly what I want. So I want to show you now something called creating a droplet. So let's go into File, Automate, Create Droplet. And when you're here, it's important for you to set where you want your droplet to be saved. So I want it to save into here. Save, okay. Yes, I want. So remember how we just created that action? We have to say, okay, we want that action to be what happens when you create the droplet. And press OK. So now when I go here, there's something that I created. This is the droplet. I'm just going to name it JPEG 80 because it's at 80%. And let's, okay, let's create file. Let's create a new Photoshop file just so I can show you what I mean. And I'm going to just create a pink square. So when you have multiple Photoshop files now, all I have to do is click it and drag it into this droplet, and I don't have to manually save anything. Don't save, okay. So here, so whenever I have a Photoshop file, I now just can drag it into here and it'll just make multiple JPEGs for me. And this is really a game changer. So you might not have as many files now, but when you are a designer, sometimes you really have so many files to save out as JPEG in bulk. So this trick, I'm sure you will find it useful. So for this week, I want you to just finish the quiz that I have put up on there and also kind of catch up with all the work that we've been doing so far. And from next week, we're going to dive into more comprehensive projects. So I'm looking forward to all the work that you guys will be creating.